perfect. I asked Garrett to keep it short. Listen, good afternoon, everyone. I'm honored to be here to help congratulate the Yees, Garrett and Maria, and their children. I mean, none of us get to do this without family. This is a commitment of the entire family. Son Gilbert, who could not be here today, son Michael, who is, with his spouse Connie, their daughter, the Yee's daughter, Alyssa, is here. All of this on the occasion of Dad's retirement from 35 years of faithful service to the nation. I'm going to take a little different tack than General Skinner did. I'm going to talk about the family. He described for us how valuable you are to the agency and have been to the Army. Special greetings to Garrett's mom, Mrs. Michiko Ino Yee. It's good to meet you. She's here today along with Garrett's brother Brendan and his wife Debbie, and the Yee's sister Grace Ann and her husband Gary Ono from Texas. Sincere thanks to our host, General Bob Skinner, for allowing me to say a few words. I had the other problem. He told me to say a few words, and I noticed that I'm on the program as the guest speaker. So. I suddenly graduated. But I'm very honored to be able to say a few words acknowledging Garrett's and Maria's devoted service and sacrifice in living the soldier's life. It's not easy and it's not for everybody, but you all have done it so well. Greetings to all the senior leaders in the room, both civilian and military, especially those with whom I've served. A lot of familiar faces and great memories. It's good to see everybody. But let me just acknowledge a few. Former Secretary Norm Manetta and his wife, Debbie. Okay, well, anyway, I owe him a beer. The Honorable John Sherman, it's good to meet you, sir. General Paul Nakasone, old friend. General Keith Kellogg, U.S. Army retired, and his wife, Paige. I know all of these people have been already introduced, but these are some significant folks. All other flag and general officers, all other distinguished guests. Great to see all of you, and among them I include Wade Ishimoto, a longtime associate. Ladies and gentlemen, it's great to see so many of you here. Thank you for being here to honor Garrett and Maria. When Garrett asked me to say a few words a year ago, last July, last September, and I say a few words, which is what our agreement was. So I've had to grow to the requirement of being the guest speaker today. I'm reminded, with deference to Father Hurley, I'm reminded, one of my friends once told me that a guest speaker, a keynote speaker at an event, was sort of like the body at an Irish wake. I'm not Irish, but I'm told you need the body to have the party. But nobody expects him to say very much. So I'll try not to disappoint. Let me start with a quick anecdote. In May 1989, I listened to the U.S. Army commander in Europe deliver his traditional Memorial Day remarks. May 89. He delivered it in Würzburg, Germany, at what was then the headquarters of the 3rd U.S. 3rd Infantry Division. In that speech, General Butch Saint emphatically stated, "I know that when I die, I will die a free man, on my feet, not on my knees, with my head up, would not bow to any other man. And then he pointed east and he said, 35 miles from here, there's a whole country that cannot say those words and probably would not know what they meant even if they could. There was a simple declaration of a free man. It struck me then and has stayed with me ever since. I suspected that those words were probably not original with Joe Saint. But on that Memorial Day, they struck me as fresh, as bold, and as full of purpose. May 89. By November of that year, 1989, the Cold War had ended, and the Iron Curtain had collapsed. You have to dream. You have to plan. Things don't happen accidentally. I have since encountered other versions of that bold declaration dating back to the ancient Greek writer. I did do a little research. Aeschylus, Euripides, more recently the Mexican revolutionary Emiliano Zapata. Mejor morir de pie que vivir de rodillas. That's the extent of my Spanish. But the defiant demand for freedom never dies. It is timeless. And today we are all witness to and marveling at the Ukrainians living out those words. What struck me that Memorial Day 1989 was General Saints implying that this statement belonged to all free men and women who were willing to fight to preserve freedom and liberty. All of us in this room can make that same declarative statement, and because we can, our children and our grandchildren inherit the right to declare themselves free as well. You see, only the free who are willing to fight to defend freedom and liberty can bequeath those gifts to others. The shackled cannot. The free who are not willing to fight to preserve freedom and liberty do not. Only the free who are willing to defend freedom and liberty can bequeath them to others. We in this room have done so. And the fight was not just by those wearing uniforms. Today we're watching an outnumbered, outgunned Ukraine defiantly demanding freedom. They deserve our help and support. The Yi family is a remarkable American story about duty and service to nation. That willingness to defend freedom and liberty. Garrett and Maria are part of a long tradition of service in uniform. They met in high school, attended Santa Clara University together, and were married about a year before Garrett graduated and was commissioned through Santa Clara's superb ROTC program. I know there are other Santa Clarans here. Maybe if there's critical mass, we'll get you to stand up and sing your alma mater. Everybody goes in the name tag, definitely. 35 years ago, Garrett Yi stepped off, following the footprints of his father, Corporal Gilbert Yi, and his uncle, Private First Class Frank Lowe, both of whom served as soldiers during World War II, with Uncle Frank serving in the Army Air Corps. Their photos and summaries are in the program. Garrett's mom, Michiko Ino, in those days, was one of 120,000 Japanese in this country who were evicted from their homes and businesses following Japan's attack on Pearl Harbor. This is common knowledge, but I'm sure there's one person in the room that may not have heard it, and for you, I'm telling the story. They were incarcerated under armed guard for the duration of the war. Secretary Mineta, you were here, was another child of those camps. Over 60% of the internees were American citizens whose rights had been stripped away because they looked like the enemy that had attacked Pearl Harbor, 7 December 1941. Michiko's uncle, Private Jimmy Eno, volunteered to join the 442nd Regimental Combat Team, one of 3 legendary, mostly Nisei units, whose soldiers would go on to be awarded 21 Medals of Honor for the battles that they would fight over the following 3 to 4 years. These units were only around for 3 or 4 years. 21 Medals of Honor. The other 2 Nisei units were the 100th Infantry Battalion and the MIS, Military Intelligence Service. The Nisei were second-generation Americans of Japanese ancestry. They're all citizens. The Nisei fought under command of Caucasian officers. These units were legendary in the community I grew up in, out in the middle of the Pacific, a little island called Kuwait. I was born about a year after Pearl Harbor, and I spent those early years growing up under martial law. General Nakasoni's dad, like 3 of my uncles, a cousin, a brother-in-law of mine, served in those Nisei units as well. Though we in Hawaii were largely spared the pain and indignity of eviction and incarceration. Michiko Yi's family, the Enos, like Secretary Mineta's family, were not spared. Yet despite the injustice and harshness of incarceration, all of Michiko's 4 brothers would ultimately serve in the military, as did Norma Mineta. Army First Lieutenant Ichiro Ino, Korean War. Army PFC Jiro Ino, Korean War. Army Specialist 3rd Class Saburo Ino, the late 1950s. Marine Corps Corporal Shiro Ino, the early 1960s. The Ino brothers were joined by Garrett's great aunt, Sue Kumogai, who served as an Army nurse in Vietnam and retired as a colonel after 28 years of service. They were joined by Navy Petty Officer 2nd Class Dick Wong, Army Specialist 4th Class Richard Yee, Navy Petty Officer 2nd Class Margot Festa Henry, Army Specialist Naomi Ino Richards, Army Sergeant Diego Vera, Marine Corps Sergeant Carlos Vera, and of course, Major General Garrett Yee. So as Garrett retires today, about the last of this remarkable family to serve in uniform, Army Specialist Guerra Vera remains on active duty, serving in the Army. The last of 17 members of this family who have given so much to our country in peace and in war, defending freedom and liberty. So Garrett, congratulations on your 35 remarkable years in uniform. Congratulations and thank you for that service. And as we thank you, we thank Maria deeply and your children for enabling that service. It's a family commitment. You and your remarkable families, the Yees and the Vedas, have served in nearly every conflict since World War II, in nearly every branch of the service, except the Space Force. And at nearly every rank in the formations. In the years ahead, Garrett, when you're up early some quiet morning, when you close your eyes, you will almost be able to hear the sounds of youngsters running in formation, because they will be, all throughout the Army's footprint, they will be. It'll bring back good memories of the folks with whom you've served, like the folks in this room today. Those youngsters will be protecting the rights of others to proudly declare themselves free. It'll make you homesick. I'm warning you, it'll make you homesick. I know this firsthand. Good luck, Godspeed. Thank you.